All right, we're going to go ahead and get started just for the sake of time. I think we'll have a few more people join in, but like I said, we'll go ahead and get started. So, thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Ada Bobbitt. I am the coordinator for United Way's Hub for Social Innovation. So, I serve on the Venture Forward team. And before we get started with our presentation for the day, we wanted to just share a few announcements. So, with the COVID-19 crisis, we reached out to our member organizations and just requested different topics and things that they needed during this time. And because of that, we have developed our April webinar schedule that is currently live on our website. It includes topic calls relative to COVID topics such as funding or resources, different things like that. We've also got nonprofit capacity building workshops and nonprofit check-ins, which include nonprofit happy hours. So Thursdays at 3:30, join us for that. Also, if you know of an organization that is not a member of Venture Forward, we have suspended Venture Forward fees for membership until June 30th. So now is the time to join. Be sure to encourage your other nonprofit fellows to become members of Venture Forward. We also just wanted to point out that we have a resource page for nonprofits relative to the COVID-19 crisis. And so for all things nonprofit related in this time, feel free to visit that website. It's venturefowardnow.org/COVID-19. I think that looks like those are all of our announcements, but if you are not on our Venture Forward newsletter, please join in on the communication. Feel free to drop your email address in the chat feature and we'll be sure to add you so that you can stay up to date on all of our upcoming webinars and training sessions. But with that being said, welcome. We're so excited that you've decided to join us today. I know personally I'm looking forward to the presentation. I have my quiet space on the ground, just ready to just kind of take some time and learn about mindfulness. And so with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Stephanie Wilkins. She is from the Center for Mindful Living, and I know that she has a really great presentation for us today. And so without further ado, Stephanie, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you, Ada, for having me. Hello, everyone. I'm glad to see everybody in their comfy clothes, and it looks like everybody's getting into a nice, comfortable position. So we are going to take a little bit of time to have some self-time and to do some practice together. But before we go into that, I wanted to simply just share some things with you all. When Ada called last week, you know, we are in a crisis moment. And she was like, we sat down and we started thinking about, you know, what all of our nonprofit organizations are going through. And they were receiving so many calls from so many of the leaders asking about what do we do to support our employees during this time. So she said, let's do something. And I said, let's do it. And she said, can we do something next week? Will you start us off? And I was like, what a great way to start a month of topics that are really going to be geared towards helping us all be able to continue to face the days that are ahead together. The Center for Mindful Living is a local nonprofit here in Chattanooga. And, you know, it's been incredible for me as I stepped in as the executive director last summer to really to be able to recognize how forward thinking that the center mothers were when they created this almost 8 years ago. What a powerful thing that we have to be able to have in our community, to be able to support businesses, individuals, to be able to, you know, have just a better life. So I'm going to go ahead and just step into the presentation that I put together for you all today. And of course, I can't take any credit for the title for that, because Ada was the one who said, Stephanie, we want to do a mindfulness in the midst of crisis webinar. And I said, perfect. I said, leave the title just as it is, and we will go from there, because I thought it was perfect. So when we think about mindfulness, there's a lot of confusion about what people think it really is. So let me define that for you, and let me let me let you all know, it's very simple. It does not have to be complicated, and it's not difficult at all. Mindfulness is simply the practice of paying attention in the present moment with intention and non-judgment. So if you have a mindful practice and you're with us today, that is wonderful. Hopefully you can gain some resources and information today to be able to enhance and build on your practice. But if you are new to this whole concept, that's wonderful. So a couple of things that I thought about when Ada asked for me to speak to you all is something that we've talked about as a staff at the center, is that we see countless people who come into the center to be able to get support and need help with real crisis in their lives. And what we want to do is we want people to be coming into mindfulness as part of their life, as a part of their preventative health. We don't want people to get to a crisis to have to come and find mindfulness. I really wish we didn't have COVID-19 to have to come together as a crisis to be able to learn more about this. But it has presented a wonderful opportunity for us to think about, okay, how can I incorporate mindfulness into my own personal life? And how can I incorporate mindfulness into my corporate culture? So when we think about how to look at mindfulness, I came across something not too long ago that I thought would be a helpful resource for you all, and how you sort of figure out what this is supposed to feel like and what this is supposed to be like. When I take you guys through the practice today, you're going to notice how crazy your mind can be. It's almost like it's a squirrel. It just constantly goes from place to place, and it wants to think about these things and do multiple things. And that's actually the beginning of that process. And it's not that we want you to really think about that. We want you to, when you recognize those thoughts are coming, that's okay. That's normal. We don't want you to start kicking yourself or feeling bad that you can't not think about things. You simply just need to accept that they happen and let them go and come back to your body. By doing that process of that intention and that attention to that awareness, you begin to train your mind to where you'll find that maybe it's not as squirrelish all the time, but that takes time and it takes practice. So this was an interesting thing that I came across that kind of talked about kind of what your mind and your body are going through during mindfulness work. So it is a process that helps us link awareness with attention so that you can enhance both. The results help you be more focused, you concentrate better, you observe your thoughts and feelings rather than becoming immersed in them. So it's an acknowledgement. You become aware that you have two selves, the self that is having the experience and the self that is witnessing it and is separate from it. And I'm going to encourage all of you to think about that when we're in a practice a little bit later in the session called a body scan meditation. Because if you kind of think of yourself as looking above you and looking down at yourself, you can kind of separate, though you can kind of create those two selves. One that's actually lying on the floor or sitting in place, and then the other self that's actually looking at that and seeing what is going on. So first you allow the witnessing self to emerge in your consciousness, and instead of thinking about it or analyzing it or building upon a sensation or feeling that comes up, whether it's fear, panic, sadness, a memory, you just observe it as it comes up. And as you meditate and allow the witnessing mind to kind of sort through what's coming up, you'll find that most of what comes up really has little significance, or you realize that you may not have a whole lot of control over it. And the more you experience this, the easier it becomes to avoid getting caught up in your thoughts and your feelings. So the awareness that comes when you allow the witnessing mind to come in fosters the courage to fully experience even the most painful emotions or beliefs, memories, and any physical sensation that might come up with that. The witnessing mind knows that you're separate from your circumstance, so you'll feel safer than if your awareness were completely absorbed in those thoughts and feelings. So it allows you to remain present in your suffering until it passes, and it will. So if we're talking about, mindfulness in the midst of crisis, we have to talk about what happens in our bodies during a crisis. We all know what stress feels like because our body has a very consistent way in how it responds. In its simplest explanation, the sympathetic nervous system functions like a gas pedal of a car. So it triggers the fight, the flight, or freeze response. And it does that because we need to be able to respond to that perceived threat. So our heart rate is going to increase, our breathing will increase, sight, hearing, and other senses will become much sharper, and energy is sent to all parts of the body to be able to handle the crisis that's happening. In contrast, the parasympathetic nervous system acts like the brake on the car and calms the body down. So we want the parasympathetic nervous system working more in our bodies than our sympathetic nervous system. If we notice that we have constant stress and that constant response of the sympathetic nervous system, when it's happening a lot, stress becomes not acute anymore, it becomes more chronic. And chronic stress can cause real significant problems within our bodies and with our systems. Whether it's GI, whether it's our heart, whether it's autoimmune disease, there are a lot of ways that stress sort of sets itself up in our bodies. And we need to work to try to make sure that that's not happening so our health isn't negatively impacted. So when we speak specifically of the crisis that we're dealing with today, COVID-19 certainly has brought its own specific crisis issues. Some people have lost their jobs, their hours have been cut, there's been fear of people actually getting the virus. There are people who know people who have the virus. We don't know how long this will last. We don't know what this is going to look like after the fact. We're constantly getting notifications and news of the growing number of cases, protocols that we need to be following. Do we wear a mask today? Do we not wear a mask today? What type of disinfectant do we use? How do we stay safe? We're all isolated. We are in our own particular places, isolated away from our community, which is a really difficult thing, especially for people who are really anxious and needing support. Our community is where you typically find that support, and we can't even get out into our community now and find those supporting places. So you guys don't have to worry about that. You have the Center for Mindful Living to help you with some of those concerns and issues. Obviously, we all worry about financial insecurity due to the length of time in shutdown. We're dealing with that at the center too. We had to cancel our spring fundraiser, and we're like, what are we going to do? How are we going to be able to survive? How are we going to be able to make it? So I know that we're all in the same boat. Ada, the wonderful webinar that you guys had the other day with the guys from Chambliss, talking about the PPP and the different SBA loan programs and different things. It was really interesting to recognize at the beginning of his presentation, talking about how many nonprofits, really could only make it a month or two with their payroll. And there was like this crazy percentage with, like, after 3 months, like it was well over 50% of most nonprofits would likely not be able to be continuing to, be a support to their community. So it was really an interesting statistic, but it was also very real to see that as well. So I want to take a few minutes and just give you guys a chance. If you've muted your microphone, unmute. If you want to use the chat function, that's fine too. What I'd like to do is take about 5 minutes or so, and I'd like for you all to kind of share with me maybe some specific things or things that you guys are dealing with your employees, or maybe even yourself, specific to the crisis that we're currently in. Are many of you continuing to have like contact with your employees throughout this time? Are you doing like Zoom meetings, or how are you guys staying connected?
Hey, this is Christy, and I'm with Sequatchie Valley Head Start,
Hey, Christy.
and we're connecting with our staff via Zoom, and we're also reaching out and doing contact with our families. And
Great.
we're kind of we just had a Zoom meeting with our family workers who are advocates, family advocates, and we're all struggling with our own mental health, and we're all missing the routine of going through the process, getting up and going to work every day. It's kind of different working from home, um, and we're all concerned about what's going to happen. And then we're also trying to help families get the needed resources that they're lacking. And we're also very worried about our families, and about financially and getting food, and then we're also been thinking a lot about domestic violence, and we're concerned about some of uh, our folks who are already in a precarious bad situation, and then when you're trapped in the home with your abuser, um, that, and they have control over you. But we're all just trying to deal with mental health issues. And our team today, we kind of shared some things that we were trying to do to help us to hold it together. With a lot of us are walking, and we're working in the yard, and we're playing games with our children, and doing cooking activities, and just trying to not watch as much television. And it's really hard because you've always got news on your phone or your television, and it's hard to turn that off. But that's kind of where we are as an agency. We have 136 employees and about 400 families we're serving.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. I think you brought up some things that I'm sure a lot of other people are beginning to kind of see and face. And I think there's some specific things in the presentation that you might be able to use, Christy. So thank you for sharing. Well, it was really interesting to me when Ada shared that they were getting so many calls from so many different nonprofit leaders about the mental health of their employees and the concern that they had for that. So I'm hoping that you all will be able to take some things away from today's presentation and be able to put those in place in your place as a business. One of the things that I thought about as I was putting together what I wanted to share with you all today is that, mindfulness is a practice that if people haven't been doing it before, coming into it in a crisis is a critical time and a wonderful time to start. But I want you to think about how that can continue, post COVID-19. And what I'm going to challenge and charge you all to do today is how you can incorporate that mindfulness into your culture with your business, because it can make a significant difference. Many companies are now moving to, we've heard of companies that do wellness programs, but there are specific companies now, some really big companies and even small companies, that are putting mindfulness in as part of their culture. And it's pretty tremendous at the benefits that it's actually providing. And I'll share a little bit more about that here in a minute. But the main thing with what you can do right now is it does start with you. So if you don't have a mindful practice, let's begin one. Make sure you're getting enough rest, find support, and luckily you now know that you have a local center that is here to help you and your employees. Organization and time management. We've all had to readjust to working remote and working from home and being able to figure out how do we communicate. The center had to move to an online platform with teaching classes. So there's all kinds of different like organization and time management that may be changing because of where we are, and then we're still having to do the regular day-to-day activities. So just Be realistic in your expectations of your organization and time management, and try to keep perfectionism in check. Have self-compassion, and obviously try to be compassionate and kind to others during this time, because we're all, there's this heightened sense of everything. Like like Christy was talking about with her organization, that people's emotions are going to be really off the charts during this time, and they're going to feel everything from anger to frustration to sadness, a lot of different things. So we need to have compassion in the forefront of our minds. Gratitude. Think about it. Think about the things that you're grateful for. Express that gratitude. You'll recognize there's a specific type of meditation called loving kindness meditation. And it's about self-compassion. It's about compassion towards others. And when you think about gratitude, when you begin to focus on the things that you're grateful for, it's almost like you're beginning to change a dynamic in your brain and in your mind. That you begin to kind of look at, the glass is half full instead of the glass is half empty. It's just a simple way that can be very impactful for you. Immerse yourself in nature. Nature is a wonderful way to help us kind of calm ourselves. Take a mindful walk. But there are other things that you can do. Mindfulness does not have to be where you sit on a meditation cushion and you close your eyes and you sit there for 20 or 30 minutes. Having anything that you're doing, mindful brushing of your teeth, really thinking about that particular moment, having a mindful meal, eating a particular thing and having a mindful, thinking about how does this taste? What taste am I tasting? What does my mouth feel like? Anything that can kind of help bring you into that present moment of intentional awareness is a wonderful thing that can give your mind a rest. So when you think about an approach to help your team through this crisis, we all know that our team's health comes first, what the best practices are, what the protocol is, and we've followed the CDC, we've followed the World Health Organization. We've all been keeping up with state and local public health departments, the officials, what's Mayor Burke saying today? When is the shutdown going to happen? When is it over? Is that going to be extended? We all have to keep up with those kinds of things. But during this time, really think about how you can practice compassionate leadership. Take time to check in with your team. Take time to check in with your people, with your community, with the people that you serve. That's a wonderful thing to do. And see how they're faring through this. With your employees, watch for things that they don't say. What are their energy levels like? If you need to implement a stress survey, the perceived stress scale is a wonderful one that you can easily send, and it can provide some feedback on where people are, and based on those results you can recommend tools or resources or have a conversation to help your employees be able to reduce their stress levels. Practice mindful listening. You don't always have to have all of the answers, and you don't always have to give those answers. Simply listen. Allow your team to be open about how they feel, both mentally and physically. Like I said, everyone's going to feel a lot of different emotions, so take time to acknowledge how someone is feeling. In times of high stress, it's easy to let frustrations get in the way of communication. Just pause. Give yourself space to respond in a skillful and kind way. Just take a little bit of a break and stay connected with your people throughout. I think that is extremely important. Keep those communication lines open and consistent. Don't let your employees guess at what's happening within the company, what's going to happen in the next week, 2 weeks. Stay in front of all of that, and it'll help keep their anxiety levels about those types of things a little bit less and in check. Let the Center for Mindful Living be a resource for you. So we're a local nonprofit here whose mission is to foster insight and provide opportunities for individuals to positively transform their experiences of themselves and impact in their community. And we do that through mindful education, we do that through mindful practice, and we do that through various partnerships with people. So the different types of offerings that we have done a lot of the same things that you guys have done. you know, we realized real quick that we were going to have to make some adjustments when COVID-19 became evident that it was coming to the US and that it was going to probably continue with closures and those types of things. And we began to think about how in the world do we navigate through this if our doors were closed? How do we continue to provide our mission? How do we continue to support our community, whether it be our center community and our whole community? So with the center, there are only 2 of us on staff. It's myself, and then Lauren Clifford is the director of our operations, and I think Lauren is actually on the webinar. So Lauren, will you just kind of pop your screen back up and say hello to everyone? Lauren, are you there?
I'm coming.
There you are.
Just a second. You can hear my voice. Let me see if you can actually see me. I've moved outside like you.
Good. There's Lauren.
Hi, everybody.
So Lauren and I are the mighty 2 that pretty much run the center and make sure that things happen. And so Lauren has played a vital role over the last several weeks to get all of our content pretty much online to where we can continue supporting our center community, but then also being able to support our whole community. So we are a resource that can be used right now. So I put the web address on the screen. It's centermindfulliving.org. Share this with your employees. We're offering 5 to 7 classes per week in real time via Zoom. We're offering yoga, qigong, meditation. Power Over a Pain is a class that focuses on pain, chronic pain. And then Dream Group is something that happens the 1st and 3rd Wednesday of the month, and that focuses on our dreams. And I don't know about you guys, but my dreams have been a little crazy over the last few weeks with all of the uncertainty, and it's kind of like that's when it presents itself. So Sue Smart and Lisa Harrison are 2 of our wonderful people that help serve the center, and they do an amazing job with that class. You know, it's been really nice for Lauren and I to both jump on some of our Zoom classes with a lot of our instructors and along with the people in our community. And you know, it's really nice to see people's faces. It's like when they see one another that they typically take classes with, or they see familiar faces, it's like their faces just light up and they smile. So it brings that kind of connection and community back that we just don't have right now because of our social isolation. Lauren has gotten a few videos from 2 of our yoga instructors and 1 of our qigong instructors, and those are going to be coming. She's going to build out that platform on our website, and those are videos that you would be able to use whenever you want to, not necessarily sign up for a Zoom class and join Kelsey in her yoga class or join Mike in his qigong class. It's if you decided at 8 o'clock at night that you just really need to take a break and have a yoga class or take a qigong class, then those will be there as options as well. But join us, become a member. It's a beautiful community of people that we get to share in each other's mindful journeys, which is a really beautiful thing. We also offer weekly series that typically will last anywhere from 4 to 5 weeks, depending on what the program is. But we have Mindfulness 201, and the Art and Practice of Happiness that's coming up with one of our wonderful instructors, Yanka. Those will happen soon. Those are probably more for people who have a practice already in place, but if you don't, that's okay. We've got Mindfulness 101 coming, Introduction to Mindfulness. If you're just getting started, we have some things for everyone. We try to make sure that we offer something for everyone, no matter where they are, so that whenever they decide that they want to begin to step into a mindful journey, that we're able to provide those resources that they need. Many of our series, Lauren has worked with our instructors to make sure that we can have those up and online in case we are still in social isolation. And then we offer numerous workshops on many weekends, and some that we know that we're going to be having coming up soon are Yoga Nidra, which is just a nice restorative type of yoga, which is an extremely relaxing practice. Sound bath, if you've never heard of the song bowls, oh, it's just a beautiful addition to whether it's a restorative yoga practice or whether you add that to your meditation. Sometimes when I do my meditations, I'll turn on a sound bath just to kind of have that in the background as I'm going through a body scan meditation. So that can be actually really relaxing to people. And then we have some Reiki training that's coming. And like I said, these will be offered online if we're still in isolation. And then we offer specific outreach programs for organizations, groups, businesses that we can customize to the specific needs of those groups. We can also do those online during this time if support is needed now. So that would be reaching out to me via email, and I've put on each of the slides, and Ada's going to have the slides sent out to everyone or posted up, and you can actually go back and watch this recording. But my email address is there for you all to utilize if you need to reach out and have some more specific help or support for that. We have incredible instructors that facilitate our classes, our workshops, our series, our outreach programs, and we also try to sort of pick the right one for the topic or the concerns that you may want to have addressed. And Lauren does a fabulous job with really having the pulse on our instructors and what their strengths are and where they can really help with those that are signing up for some of those types of programs. So moving beyond COVID-19 and creating a mindful culture in the workplace, first and foremost, to be able to really do that, to really have a good base to it, is to lead by example. You have to have a mindful practice yourself, and it has to be something that you feel is important to yourself and the culture of your workplace. Whether that's designating time during the day for employees to be able to do that, maybe designating a specific place for your employees to be able to do that, or just allowing them the time to be able to do that during their workday. Facilitate group activities or schedule things with us to help facilitate and do some follow-up for you all. Create mindful leaders within your business to help lead the charge. You would be surprised at how many people, if they either already have a practice or they jump into this, now that it's something that you all are encouraging and providing for them to do, they may be an amazing mindful leader and might want to help facilitate some of the things and lead some meditations or, lead a mindful eating experience or whatever that might be. Take everybody on a mindful walk. I charge you all to have a mindful meeting. Maybe one of your next virtual calls. You focus on mindfulness during that time. You don't allow cell phones to be there. You think about how you can bring everyone into that present moment and focus on the right here and the right now. Offer recognition or incentives to those who are actually doing mindfulness as a part of the culture of the workplace. So a lot of different things that you can do. The benefits to have mindfulness in the workplace: it decreases employee stress, it decreases risk of burnout, it decreases turnover, it decreases healthcare cost and less paid time off, it increases engagement and productivity, creativity and innovation, and it is a wonderful recruitment tool. What do you think it says to a potential future employee that mindfulness is a part of your culture? They know that you care about them. So it's a wonderful recruitment tool to use as well. So we have about 22 or 23 minutes left in our session. So without further ado, I would like for us to practice together. We're going to actually do a short body scan today. I'll probably keep it to around 10 or so minutes, maybe 15, just so that I can have some time at the end for us to be able to have time for questions. But I love to do a body scan meditation. I generally do this at least 5 times a week. It's really interesting. When I began my practice, I began years ago with yoga as my mindful movement type of practice. And then I started when I was in Birmingham, Alabama. And then when I moved to Chattanooga, I really had a difficult time finding a yoga practice that really kind of focused more on the mindfulness component, or a more relaxing, more postural kind of alignment type of yoga practice. So I got out of my yoga practice for a little bit. But now that I have found the Center for Mindful Living and the type of programs that it has to offer, this has really been able to get my practice started again, but it's also changed my practice. So I was never a meditator, but I really love to meditate now. I do yoga. I will take our Qigong classes sometimes, which are interesting. But for me, I would never have thought I would do something the first thing in the morning when you get up. But it is, when I started doing that, I was like, well, I'm just going to try it and see what I think, after it was recommended to me by one of our wonderful instructors. And it's a great way for me to start my day. And as I began to do that, I realized this is when I need to do it. It starts my day the way that I want my day to start. I actually started the body scan meditation after a healthcare provider told me to listen to my body's whispers and not to wait for my body to shout. So that's something I want you all to think about, because a lot of times we wait until our body is shouting and really hurting before we actually say, okay, I will listen. No, listen to the whispers. So make sure that you always are in a quiet place when you take some mindful time to yourself, so that there won't be any interruptions. When thoughts arise, and they will, expect them, just simply observe those thoughts. Don't judge them. And when you recognize that they have taken you away from your body, simply come back to your body. You can sit or lie down when we begin the practice. I prefer to lie down during a body scan meditation. And if you need any props like a mat, a bolster for your back or your neck, please feel free to use them. I actually have a couple of things that I put together for you guys. You know, if you don't have all of the, bolsters and blocks and different things that we have at the center, a blanket rolled up or a towel rolled up can serve as a wonderful prop. And as a mat, just something, a blanket that's soft if you want something soft to lie on, or just lie on the floor. Sometimes I'll just lie on a rug, which is perfectly fine. Now, when I talk about meeting your body where it is, as far as like props that you use, I really try to focus on my spinal alignment, making sure that I'm getting my spine in alignment. And that took some practice for me. When I first started doing this, I had to put a bolster under my legs to be able to help my back not to hurt. Some people have to use a prop under their neck so that their neck doesn't bother them. That's okay. You meet your body where it is. But then I was able to begin to not have to use all of those things, to where I could allow myself to kind of build that spinal alignment in a much better way. So just meet your body where it is. That's the only thing I want you all to remember. And I'm going to ring a bell to begin the session, and I will ring a bell when I would like for you all to come out of that. So I'm actually going to just switch back now and just be with you guys on the actual screen, and we'll come back to a couple of slides at the end. But right now, I'd like for you to go ahead and find a comfortable space. Whether it's sitting on the floor, you can still sit in a chair if you prefer, or you can lie flat, like I said, which is my preference for a body scan meditation. So find that comfortable place. And if you decide to sit in a chair, just simply place both of your feet on the floor, and you might want to place your hands on your knees or your thighs, just resting comfortably. If you decide to sit on the floor, find a position that's most comfortable with you, whether it's sitting on your bottom with your legs crossed, or sitting with your feet maybe underneath you, or with your legs out in front of you, whichever is most comfortable. And then if you choose to do the lying position, I will generally literally just lie flat down, spread my legs slightly apart, and I will literally put my hands down by my side and turn my palms up. So the body scan meditation will actually do what it says it's going to do. We're going to scan the body and allow you to tune into your body. So let's begin. Begin by bringing attention into your body. You can close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. Or if you want to just look slightly forward and down in front of you with a soft gaze, that is fine as well. You can notice your body seated wherever you're seated, feeling the weight of your body on the chair, on the floor. Take a few deep breaths. Notice where you're breathing from. Are you breathing from your diaphragm? Is your belly expanding, or do you feel that you're breathing more from your chest? Let's take a couple of deep breaths, really trying to focus on breathing from our belly. Take a deep breath in, and then as you breathe out, make sort of a ha sound as it comes out. So let's try that together. Take a deep breath in through your belly. Now let's just take some breaths from our chest. Notice how deep or shallow your breathing is. Don't judge this, just notice. If you notice that your breathing might be a little bit more shallow, you'll begin to notice as you continue with the body scan that your breathing will probably become deeper. And that takes time and it takes practice. Now for a couple of breaths, I'd like for you to put one hand over one of your nostrils and breathe through the other nostril, nice and deep. And then when you exhale, switch to your other nostril, breathe in and breathe out of that nostril. Let's try out of our right nostril. A deep breath in, and the same sound out. Now focus on your left nostril. Deep breath in, and a nice ha, deep breath out. That is something that a lot of times I will begin my body scan practice with, just a little bit of breathing, and then not necessarily focusing on my breath anymore, but just allowing the breath to kind of come and go throughout. But let's begin our scan. So right now I'd like for you to focus on your feet. Notice how they feel on the floor. Are there any sensations? Think about where your feet are touching onto the floor. Do they feel heavy? Do you feel any heat or any vibration? Now notice your legs against the chair. Is there any pressure against the chair? With your legs, if you're seated, is there any pressure into the floor? If you're lying, is there any pressure or anything that you feel into the floor? Try to focus on feeling heavy and allowing yourself to ground a bit more into the chair, into the floor. Now notice your back, whether it's against the chair, against nothing, or against the floor. This is typically an area that sometimes can feel quite tight. Notice if you feel tightness. If you do, breathe into that space. When you breathe, try to think about that you're opening that space, creating more space in that area. Now bring your attention to your stomach area. Is it tense? Is it tight? Let it soften. Take a breath here. Take a belly breath here. Focus on your stomach. Notice your hands, whether they're sitting on your legs or whether they're on the floor. Do they feel tense or tight? Can you allow them to soften? Notice how your arms feel. Ground your arms a little more. Take a breath and see if you can allow your body to press more into the ground. Now let's move up into our throat and our neck area. The neck and shoulders tend to be an area where we tend to hold a lot of tension. Maybe just move your head side to side just a little bit. If you're sitting, you can just kind of go to the left and the right, turn it a little bit. If you're lying down, you can just simply turn. And just notice how your neck feels. Do you feel any tightness? Can you breathe into that? Now let's move more into your face and your jaw. How does your jaw feel? Open your mouth and see how it feels. Does it feel tight? See if you can think about softening those muscles. Now just notice your whole body. Be aware of your whole body as best you can. If your thoughts have taken you away from your body, take a breath and bring yourself back to your body. Take a nice deep cleansing breath. Think about breathing into your belly. Notice your breathing. Has it changed since we began? Is it deeper, slower? When you're ready, you can open your eyes. You can begin coming back. One of the things that I have noticed when I do my body scan, depending on the amount of time that I have, I'll do a body scan. And a lot of times the whispers will present themselves to me. And sometimes if I have some time available after the scan, I will actually do maybe some yoga poses or even just some more stretching in the areas of my body where I felt some tightness, or I felt the whispers, or I heard the whispers. And I'll focus a little bit more intentional time on those places. So I hope that was helpful to you all. How do you all feel? Where did you all go? There's Kristen. I see her coming back. Oh, I like that. I was afraid I might fall asleep. And you know what? That is okay if you do. When you wake up, you just come back to the body. I want to go back to our presentation. So going forward from this, find a space in your home, find a space at work, once we go back to work, just find a designated space that you will allow yourself to have time. What I have found, especially at home, I have two places that I will typically have mindful time with myself. Obviously, I'm on a porch, which helps to bring me outside into a very calm space. But then I also have a small library where I have my desk, and I will simply put my mat and whatever I might need to be able to take a break. That is typically where I would start most of my days until springtime came. And now I tend to enjoy doing it outside if I can. But make it a practice and make it a designated space, because what you will find is when you see that space, it is a constant reminder for you that it is there for you when you need to take a pause. Try different mindful offerings if this is something that is new to you, and see which ones speak to you. Lauren and I always joke about how body scan is not her meditation preference. She loves breath meditation, and that's okay. Find what speaks to you. I start, like I said, most days with my body scan meditation. And what I have noticed is on the days that I do it, I feel more relaxed, I feel more focused, I feel more attentive, and I typically will have a more productive day. It's interesting because I learned pretty quick when I realized I wasn't having that kind of a day. I was like, what did I do different today? And a lot of it was because I didn't take some time for myself to get started. So it really can be a pretty incredible thing for us to use to be able to help get ourselves in a more productive and creative space. Please let us know at the center how we can support you guys and how we can support your employees and even potentially your constituents. You have my email address, the website, centermindfulliving.org. It's very easy. Lauren has created a great jump-off page off of our homepage to the different things that we're offering right now. Join us and become a part of what we're doing. We're a resource there for you all. So thank you all for taking some time with me today. I think I left just a few minutes for me to answer any questions. And if I don't get to your question, I can certainly respond via email if it's something that you would like to email to me, and continue the conversation as we move forward. So Ada, thank you so much for asking me to join you all today. It's been a pleasure, everyone.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. I know for me, I was reading some of the comments and people were saying it's the most relaxing meeting they've had in weeks. And I couldn't agree more. And I was just sitting here thinking about, like, if this is how I felt after doing a mindful practice today, like, how could I take that back to the people I work with so that they can have the same experience and go through their weeks and not being in so many stressful meetings or just so much crisis response, but just taking time for ourselves. So thank you so much, Stephanie. And it does look like we have a question in the chat about whether, I'm going to say this wrong, is it Qigong? No, Qigong or yoga?
Yeah.
Good for beginners?
Oh, yes. Both of those are actually really good for beginners. So Qigong is going to focus a little bit more on movement and the energy sort of systems that we have in our body. And then yoga is just, you know, sort of a full body type of experience. All of our classes are great for beginners because we know with our classes that we are meeting people where they are, and we have people coming in from very different levels or very different places. So all of our practices are good for beginners, and even people that are intermediate and advanced. So yes, those are wonderful things for beginners. So let's see, let me look through some of these. I'm so glad y'all feel lighter.
I actually have to leave real quick,
Yes.
but I actually run, I don't know if you've heard of Celia Farm. I'm out in Appleton,
Yeah.
and I do equine assisted psychotherapy, but I also do mindfulness things with the horses.
Yes.
So that would be something I would love to get together with you on, because I think,
Oh, well, I actually have a background in equine assisted therapy as well. And I actually have 2 horses on the property that live with me. So you and I totally need to connect.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you probably saw when I took my video off the picture of my little miniature horse sticking her head through the fence.
That's great. That's great.
You know, grass is always greener with her. But
yeah,
thank you. This was great. And as soon as I stood up, my entire back just popped. Like, oh, yeah.
Very good.
So.
Very good. So let's continue that conversation on. Many of you may not know about equine assisted therapy, but the horse is a wonderful way to help mirror what's happening with us. And not only that, I used to work with people with special needs, PTSD, to be able to see how things would present themselves in a way. The horse does not lie. That is a horse that is they are mindful, and they live in the absolute present moment. So it's great to know of another equine lover out there that loves to be able to use them for that. So
I primarily work with kids who've been in foster care, who have been adopted, who've had trauma.
Wow.
But I'm actually hoping to start working once bans are lifted with first responders, doctors, like, you know, people who've been on the front lines of this whole thing, and try to help them kind of, you know, decompress, unpack, you know, and I'm going to be working with a couple of therapists that actually I've partnered with. So
that's wonderful. That's
keep
good.
you guys informed. But yeah, this was
Please
great.
Do.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to answer one quick, another one. Patricia, you had asked what you recommend for back problems. So all of our classes are gentle in nature, but we do have a class on Tuesdays at noon called Power Over Pain, which is taught by Jason. He is a physical therapist, and he has a very different perspective and a different approach to being able to help you focus on that pain in a different way. So I would recommend that you take that class and get to know Jason, because I think he can really help you with some of the back problems or some chronic pain issues that you might be having. So people said I didn't want to return. Very relaxing, most relaxing Zoom meeting in 3 weeks. Thank you so much for the tools you shared. Oh, it's been my pleasure, guys. So there are multiple offerings. So visit us on our site, join us for some of our classes, for our series, our workshops. And I hope that I will see your faces in the days to come, whether it be on a computer screen or the opportunity to get to meet you all face to face when we can get back to our respective places of business and move forward with things.
Thank you so much again, Stephanie, for leading this today. And friends, I guess we'll stay on the line for a couple more minutes in case you have questions. But if not, we will be sending out this recording and PowerPoint presentation so that you can take this back to your place of business. So thank you so much for joining us. And Stephanie, it's been a pleasure.
Mine too. I'll stay on for a bit if people want to ask some questions.